The Sallie House. It's Atchison's most famous haunted house, easily. It's visited by hundreds each year. The house is currently not occupied and available for both daytime visits and overnight stays. A waiver is required due to the potential for personal injury, though no serious injuries have been reported since the last tenants in 1993.
Which are the ones that Sallie or that sightings worked?
Yes, those are the ones that sightings worked with. Originally built at the turn of the century, this house became the residence of an Atchison physician. The front served as office space and examination rooms, while the doctor and his family lived upstairs. One day, a frantic mother arrived carrying her 6-year-old daughter, Sallie. The child had collapsed from severe abdominal pain. The doctor diagnosed appendicitis and knew there was no time to delay surgery. Believing the appendix would soon burst, the doctor began cutting Sallie before the anesthesia took full effect. Sallie's scream suddenly stopped, and she grew pale and limp. She died on the operating table. Her last memories of a man she believed was torturing her. The Sallie House in Atchison, Kansas was built in approximately 1867. In 1866, the land where the Sallie House now stands was purchased by Dr. Michael C. Finney. Once built, the Finney family moved in and made it their home. For nearly a century, a Finney has either lived in the house or owned the property. In the early 1900s, the house was added onto structurally. Within the Sallie House, it is said to be haunted by a little girl who died after an appendectomy type of surgery, which took place in the house, in which the procedure that was conducted by Dr. Finney. And it went horribly wrong, as we talked about. Now, that little girl is said to be Sallie, yet there isn't any historical documentation that points to such an instance happening within the house. What the actual story of the little girl's spirit presence is unknown. Our investigation outcome of the Sallie House does suggest that there is indeed a possible spirit presence of a little girl within. So, but if so, they don't know if it's actually Sallie. There were many disturbing experiences had by Deborah and Tony Pickman, who are the couple that was in the show Sightings, who lived in the house between 1992 and 1994. Those experiences were documented by the Sightings television show. It is said that the daughter of some of the previous tenants of the house had an imaginary friend named Sallie. So Sallie was the name given to the little girl believed to be haunting the house. Among the numerous paranormal events the Pickmans experienced within the house, one was sightings of the spirit of a little girl. Tony and Pickman in particular were singled out by the energy in Sallie House. He regularly received welts or scratches with no obvious cause. They appeared on camera while Sightings was filming him. Yes. At one time, while asleep, he turned to his wife and threatened her, and he felt like the energy in the home wanted him to hurt his wife. Oh. And they did have issues for some time here. He got very angry. If you've ever seen the original... Amityville? Yes, Amityville Horror. The way the husband got in that, so brooding, he had that same thing. Yeah. The house has long been known to be haunted. Sallie's haunting grew ominous in 1993 when the house was rented to the young couple. Their dog seemed to growl at nothing, especially near the upstairs nursery. Things began to take a violent turn. Fires broke out in the home and a series of sinister attacks on the husband began. The operating area would become cold. Objects would visibly move when the young man drew near. He could feel scratches upon his chest or abdomen, but never did the ghost attack the wife or the baby. Events that have been witnessed by visitors to the Sallie House include video and investigative equipment that just stops working for no reason, batteries that are full immediately and completely draining, which that is a common thing in ghost hunts because ghosts will feed off energy and they'll steal it right out of batteries. So people have experienced moving objects. People have experienced unexplained scratches or bruising on their bodies during and after visits. They've been physically touched. There are mysterious cold spots, and trained guide dogs refuse to enter the nursery.
Wow.
Refuse.
That's quite a bit of stuff, for sure.
So that is the Sallie House. And I mean, I feel bad for Tony Pickman, because that place was a nightmare for him. Just scratches would appear, and I watched, like, as part of my research, I watched almost all of the sightings on about them, and they stayed there for a while just trying to find information. And the thing is, I don't think Sallie is the bad spirit.
Yeah.
If there is a little girl there, I don't think she's the bad spirit. I think there's something else there.
Right.
And like in the basement, at some point, someone drew a summoning circle. Now, since it's been covered over and painted with like a different circle, it's more of a circle of protection, I guess. But, not a good place to be. Not a good place that just, it messes with me, It messes with me just thinking about it. I went to TripAdvisor and got a couple of really interesting things said. I stayed the night at Sallie House with my husband. We had typical ghost hunting gear with us, digital recorders, cameras, an EMF detector. Not much happened at first, and I thought maybe it would turn out to be a wasted trip, and all the lore surrounding the house was just hype. Well, that soon changed. I won't go into the details of what happened, but I will say that whatever is inside the Sallie House seemed to like my husband a lot, but me not so much. And I wonder if it's because during one of our initial recordings, I took a little bit of an aggressive tone. I'm not sure if it was me being annoyed that nothing was happening, or if it was a demon trying to possess my body. I'm assuming the first, but I like to stay open-minded. If you're into the paranormal, stay at Sallie House. It's worth it for the history alone, and more than likely you will end up having strange experiences when you least expect it. The only downside of staying there is sleeping on the floor. Gross. Why not turn it into a proper overnight stay? Also, we had several people come to the house to try to get a look while we were there. Awkward. We also had a little trouble with the reservation when booking. However, when we did manage to hook up with the tour guide, she was great. See, here's some others. Well, went with the class there. One tour guide, Maria, was great. There is definitely something in that house. Apparently, if you can get Maria, she's good tour guide. Let's see. Another one. This one's from October of 2017. Every time I visited this house, I have captured EVPs that are Class A. I personally have never felt any evil or negativity in this home. If you enjoy the paranormal, then this is a must-visit place. And lots of people talk about Maria. They like Maria a lot. Now, like I said...
Way to go, Maria.
Like I said, those are the big guns in Atchison. There's a restaurant there that is as haunted as either of those two places. And there's all, like, Atchison, Kansas is home to Benedictine College, which is a Catholic university. But there's are reports there of a ghostly nun as well as a ghostly priest. And I've had friends who've seen both. I lived at a place, the actual address was 606 Spring Street when I was in my early 20s and encountered a ghost there. I think I've talked about it on the show before, but I thought I was dreaming at first, and I saw a translucent woman in the dining room. And when she realized I was looking at her, her face sort of melted and became a skull-like. And mind you, I wasn't on anything. Like, if I'd been on something... Okay, I wasn't on anything. I had just woken up and was like, who's the stranger? Wait, why can I see through the stranger in my... Wait, why is her face melting? Oh my God, that's a skull face. She's running at me. I covered my face up. I pulled it up. It was gone. Others report hauntings in their homes, but obviously these aren't open to the public. In fact, one of the local ghost hunters lives in a house that's haunted. She says there's no negative energy in her home, but they lead ghost hunts there in town all the time. And so Atchison is also just off the Missouri River, which means there's lots of limestone, and limestone seems to encourage ghostly activity, whether it's that stone tape recorder thing or something else. But lots of spectral activity, or is it something else? Because Atchison is kind of a creepy place. And I don't mean that in a mean way. It's a small town that's kind of developed into a larger city for it. I mean, I say large. The place probably doesn't have more than 50 or 60,000 people in it.
Well, I mean, yeah, like you said, large for it.
Yeah. So, but just so many of the buildings are like left over from the 1800s and whatnot, and it's just, it's crazy to me how quaint it is. And to make it worse, and I hope things have changed, but to make it worse, when I first went there, the police were a little overzealous. I remember driving to Atchison, not being able to find where I was looking for, and so I pulled into a convenience store to ask directions, and a police officer that had been following me, like as soon as I got out of the car, made me get up against the car. He patted me down. He looked through the entire car. I hadn't done anything. I was wearing, the whole reason he did it, I was wearing a black trench coat and fingerless gloves. And this was the late 80s, early 90s.
Oh, well, you know.
So,
how dare you?
Well, like everybody was wearing that
right,
thing.
I mean, know, that's what I'm saying. How dare you?
But I hear from people that the place has much changed. That most of the police behave much better. So,
oh, well, that's good.
But that is haunted Atchison.
Wow. Sounds like an interesting place. We may have to make a day trip there sometime, I think. Maybe a weekend trip. We'll have to see. We're working on it.
And I totally forgot to leave room for a word from our sponsors. So what's going to happen is at some point, I'll just find a dead spot and then I'll stick it in there. So it'll probably be like in the middle of like me saying something about the house, and I'll find a dead spot and I'll add noise to it. So it'll be me going. And then commercial. They've discovered that they had a shadow figure, so it'll be weird, but it'll be okay.
Okay, but
we could put it in the spot where Brian.
You know what? We could.
That's a perfect spot to put it.
That's a great spot.
Unfortunately, we can't go back to that and add me saying that I feel sponsored. You know,
that's okay. There's a next time for that.
Well, you could just say it now.
I feel sponsored.
Can you cut it and put it there?
I can.
Oh, okay. Well, then you can ask me how I feel, and I can say okay.
How do you feel?
Oh, I think I feel sponsored.
There you go.
Excellent. Got that all sorted out.
Yep. Now, so let's take a moment for our final thoughts. Having lived in Atchison, that place is crazy. Something is there. There are ghosts there. There is spectral activity there. Why? I don't know. I couldn't tell you, but it's common there. I have no doubt saying this is a haunted location.
Well, and I mean, we have a lot of respect for some of the people who are very firm advocates of Sallie House in particular, and there is just tons of experiences and stuff. I'm with you. There has to be something is going on just in general.
And you, my Krysta?
There's things going on there. It's been told by multiple people that, yeah, there's things going on there, so I wouldn't be like, oh, there's people in each...
even if you say no, then the history of the town it seems enough to...
Right, yeah, exactly. I mean, it's historical, yeah, exactly. And that as much as